any stimulus acts with a delay, including the first one. But it is not a panacea. A stimulus is the right thing. You hope it doesn't get watered down in many ways. I mean, our first stimulus bill, it seems to me, it was sort of like taking half a tablet of Viagra, and then having also a bunch of candy mixed in, as everybody was putting in things for their own constituencies. It doesn't have really quite the wallop.
Warren, Viagra, wallop. All right. Well, meanwhile, a new report says counties that supported Obama last year have reaped twice as much money per person from the president's first stimulus package than those who voted for his rival, John McCain. Joining me now, Barry Ritholtz, author of Bailout Nation, and John Tamny, editor of Real Clear Markets. Guys, thanks for joining us. Joe Biden over the weekend said, hey, we kind of misread the economy. Did they misread it? Is it worse than they thought it was going to be?
They just don't understand the economy at all. The reality is stimulus, as a rule, cannot work. It's the equivalent of me going to Barry Ritholtz and stealing $50 from him and going to spend it. I'm $50 richer, but he's $50 poorer. It's just a transfer of wealth, and even worse, for those taxed and borrowed against in order to pay this stimulus bill, they have less incentive to work, and those handed the money also have less incentive to work. The stimulus bill actually caused the economy to slow down. As a rule, it should.
John, what in the world would make them think we should start talking about a second stimulus package when we haven't even spent, 10%? We have 90% left of stimulus one left to go. Why even talk now?
Well, because the sad tragedy for our economy is that politicians always feel that they need to be seen to be doing something. And as a result, they always create problems that didn't exist before. Calvin Coolidge used to say, if you see 10 troubles coming down the road, 9 of them will roll off into the ditch. If Washington would just get out of the way, the economy would be fine. But as long as it keeps intervening like this, what we have, which is called a recession, is going to be elongated.
Barry, I often equate Obama to the CEO of the country. A good CEO is going to try and grow his business. What he's really doing here is growing the government. He's growing the size of government. Isn't that what he's supposed to do?
Well, to some degree. Look, when you have a recession, and especially a credit-driven recession like we have, where a lot of private activity has gone away and won't be back for a couple of quarters, maybe even a couple of years, there's nothing wrong with the government on a temporary basis filling that void.
It's not temporary, my friend. That's
always the problem. That's the problem.
Just about every congressperson, every senator that comes on any of these shows, they tell us how they're going to spend it, and then I ask them, yeah, but when it comes back, when they repay TARP, when the banks pay back, what are you going to do with it? And they go,
that should go back to the taxpayers.
But it doesn't. It goes into Treasury. They've just made government bigger.
That's exactly right. And that's the big danger with any bailout that you see. It's never just a temporary thing, or 9 times out of 10. It's not temporary. Suddenly you have a bigger... Everyone forgets, when federal income tax first started, it was 1%.
John, talk to me a little bit about the American public. Are they ready for stimulus 2 when they still haven't seen the effects of stimulus 1? I mean, we're talking 14.5 million people still out of work right now, far exceeding Barack Obama's wildest, worst nightmare scenario so far. So why are the American people going to even think about stimulus 2?
That's what I hope. My hope is that the American people in general have an intuitive sense that you can't get something for nothing. And this is what stimulus presumes. But what all Americans have to understand is in order to stimulate one sector of the economy with the government spending money, you must by definition depress another aspect of it. There's no economic growth. In fact, it creates negative economic growth. And the last thing we need with the economy gasping as it is for the government to spend even more money on something that will not work.
Barry, at some point, we're going to have to pay for this. Our kids are going to have to pay for this. How are we going to do this?
Well, one way we're going to do it is by massive inflation, by inflating our way out of this. We keep printing dollars. We keep running a bigger deficit. We keep spending money we don't have. You basically take the dollars in your wallet and make it worth that much less. That's a real problem. That's one way. The other way, the responsible way, is you reduce spending across the board. That includes military, that includes entitlements, and that includes discretionary spending. But good luck finding, 51 senators over the past 100 years that are willing to do that.
Give you guys both a crack at this question, John. Did we make a mistake by bailing out Wall Street and not bailing out small businesses, Main Street?
We most definitely made a mistake. You never should bail out any company of any size. Capitalism is not capitalism unless there is failure also. Bailing out Wall Street just ensures more crises in the future when banks are taught that they can make mistakes and that politicians will cushion their mistakes. It is a huge error.
All right, what about a very quick?
You know, there's a great quote from an English philosopher who said, "The result of shielding men from their folly is to fill the world with fools."